This podcast is brought to you in conjunction with Hustro.com, a leading construction management software tool. And today we're tackling a question I get asked more than any other question. How do I win tenders without being the cheapest bidder? So let's get stuck into that today and unpack it, if you like. Here's what I see happening all the time. Small to medium size construction businesses lose tenders after tenders just constantly going around in circles, tendering for work and just not getting it and losing it to their competitors. So what's going on in that space? The cynical person would turn around and say, well, there's backhanders going on there, and he knows her and she knows him, or whatever. And I think first of all, there'll always be a bit of that in no matter what industry you're in, but you can't think like that, because if you think like that, well, you're just going to have that negative mindset that you've a chip on your shoulder. And I would like you just to take that out of the equation completely. And I don't know how many people I talk to who keep on coming up with this whole chip on their shoulder, if you like, well, I didn't get it because I guarantee you they're throwing brown envelopes or whatever it is. I would suggest you take the view that, no, that's not happening. You're not getting the job because you didn't pitch it at the right pitch in order to win the hearts and minds and the financial aspect as well of the tender. I know you can be cynical about it, but just you really need to get that out of your head, because there is genuine clients out there that are looking for genuine companies. And you're better off, in theory, working for those companies. And if you're not going to win certain contracts because there is stuff going on in the background, well, then let it go on in the background. Find the client, the right pool of clients for you. Find the one that trusts you. Find the one that believes in your business. And it may take you a while. And yes, it is painful, but eventually you will find that right person. So long as you're producing the right product and you're delivering on what you say you can deliver, and your price point is at such a point that it's in the ballpark. It might be a little bit dearer, which is fine. I have no issues with that. And the client actually doesn't have any issues with that. But can you deliver, and do you say what you're going to do? That's more important. And once you win that client over and you deliver for them, there's no reason why they won't come back again and use your services. For small to medium enterprises, it is tough, I have to say. There's no point in dressing it up. You might not have the right management systems. You might not have an accredited system. You might not have the right policies. You might not have the resources to pull together the right team, or a multidisciplinary team where you might be too focused on maybe it's civils or maybe it's drywall, and you can't do the whole package, and you might have to bring in external contractors or an external subcontractor, which might not leave much money on the table for you to add on in terms of your tender prices. So maybe it's the structure of your tender that's, because you're using, or you're depending on using subcontractors, and you're putting a margin on their stuff. Maybe that's what the problem is. And maybe that's the reason why you're not getting the work, is because you have this subcontractor model, and the people that you're pricing against have a direct model where, for them, it's about paying wages. And, you might say, well, they're being the cheapest on the market. It might not be that case at all. It might be the case that they're saying to themselves, do you know what? I'm going to win that job because I need to pay wages. And if I have that job, it means the lads are staying with me for the next 6 months, and I can work on other tenders where I'll make more money, or I'll make a decent profit, but I'll just take or win that job on the basis of keeping the lads going. And that does go on. So if you're not in that model, think about that as well, that, you may very well have to win a contract and win it on face value, and win it on the basis that you're just paying lads to keep them in your business. Whereas some people don't think that way. They think, okay, I didn't win it because I got undercut. You didn't get undercut. Someone came in and said, yeah, I need to pay wages. So think about that as well. In terms of your tender pack, there is specific companies out there as well, just to let you know, that do tendering for you. So if you feel that you're just not confident in your tender bids, it might be no harm to reach out to other organizations that do this on a regular basis in a professional manner, and they would put the tender together for you. So again, maybe have a look at that as a once off and say to yourself, okay, do you know what? I'll just try this other company and see, are they putting together a better tender? And even if you never use them again and you see the tender that went in and the style and the professionalism that goes into it, you might very well turn around and go, do you know what? I'll copy that. That's now I have a template that I can use to tender bid some of my stuff. I will say to you this, we notice it on tender packages as well, where you don't have an independent accredited system like an ISO system, like 45001 for safety, 14001 for environmental, 9001 for quality. Like a lot of the tenders that would come across, and even if we're doing tenders for other companies, it's great just to tick that box and say, yeah, we have an independent accredited system. Because if you don't tick that box, then you're asked a load of questions that you're going to have to demonstrate that you have this. Now, I'm not saying go out and get ISO, but I will say to you, it does make your life easier. And again, there is companies out there that can help you with it. If anyone turns around and says to you, yeah, I can get you ISO, I'll have it for you in the next 2 or 3 months, they're lying, and you're not going to get what you think you're going to get. It takes pretty much 12 to 16 months to implement, develop and implement a quality environmental or safety system, or the 3 systems together. It might take you longer. Depending on the size of your company, you can get this pretty much. But if anyone says that they can deliver this in less than 6 months, absolutely lying. 8 months at a stretch, 12 months should be really comfortable in terms of you have the system, you have it built in accordance with your company. You're confident that you know every part of that system and that it fits into your organization and it is specific to your organization. It's not something that has been lifted off a shelf and implemented into your business in a generic format. You can actually, if you can't turn around and say that you know every bit of that system and you actually deliver what you say on that system in your business, then you've been given the wrong system, or you've been taken up the road and spent bad money, basically. You want to get somebody that knows this stuff inside out, that has been doing it on a regular basis, not someone that says, yeah, I've worked with systems, sure, give it to me and I can implement it for you. Go and find a brilliant ISO consultant. They're worth their weight in gold if you're going to do this. Especially if you're going into the larger, 5 million plus tender bids, because realistically, when the tender bidders are looking down through the responses and they see that you don't have an independent accredited system and you're pricing a job 5 million plus, they're going to go, do you know what? They're going to mark you really down on that, and that's not good for you, obviously. So a little tip, if you below 5 million, you might get away with it. Above 5 million, you definitely need to be putting in an accredited system of some sort. And I'm not saying it doesn't have to be ISO, but it does have to be some sort of an accredited system. If you're using subcontractors, you need to demonstrate vigorously that you have a good system to vet contractors coming in and manage contractors once they're in with you. And we see this time and time again. Do you subcontract your work out? Some cases, some companies say they don't, and they do. And then they get found out, and that's a problem for them. But if you say you do subcontract out, you got to have a really good backup story of how you vet, pre-qualify and manage these subcontractors. And you need to show that they are inclusive in your company, that they follow the values of your company and the culture of your company. And again, if you can't demonstrate that, it's a big red flag for some of the companies that are vetting you in these tender bids. And this goes back to these specialist tender companies. I'm not promoting them. I don't know any of them, to be honest with you, but I know they exist and they do this on a regular basis. So again, if you feel that, you know what, I just need a bit of professional support here to get me over the line, to get me one of these contracts so I can see where I'm going wrong. Every day is a learning day. Take that on board go and figure it out with some professional help and support, or go to somebody that has been in the construction trade and has done tenders on a regular basis and sit with them, pay them for their time and say, look, give me a half a day of your time just to give me an idea of where I'm going wrong. Here's some of the tenders I put through. I haven't won them. Here's some of the scoring that's come back. And another thing, I don't know how many people have spoken to, and they don't go back and ask for the evaluation of the tender. They just get a letter to say, oh, you've been unsuccessful. Or have I? Where have I been unsuccessful? What have I lost the marks on? Can you demonstrate to me in particular what areas did I fail on, in your opinion? And it's not to go toe to toe with these people. So we don't want you going, oh, well, you've marked me down on that. Come on. Like, what's done is done. You haven't won the tender, accept it, but learn from it. And, every day is a learning day, as I say. And you can take this as an opportunity for a learning outcome for yourself or for your business and go, okay, fair enough. That's your opinion. I maybe didn't demonstrate it enough in the tender to win you over, that we actually do this the way we do it. And it's a great way of doing it. It might be a brilliant way of what way you've executed it on the ground, but you haven't demonstrated in the tender to show the guy or the person or the woman or whoever the team is that's evaluating the tender that you can do this in such a way that they're comfortable with. And that's the main thing, is that have they got the comfort in backing you? And that's basically what they're saying is, like, to win a tender, they're basically saying, we back you as a company to deliver this product for us. So always remember that. Value is everything. Trust is everything. Belief is everything. And if your belief is not coming off the page for them, they don't trust you. And that's really what they're saying. It's not, don't take it personal, but they're saying, we do not trust your ability to deliver this tender, either in terms of the execution, we don't trust you, or we don't trust you that your price is something that we can back, in terms of all the other tenders we see have a certain figure, and then your figure is off the wall, either off the wall too low or off the wall too high, and that's really what you're trying to get into in terms of mindset. And that's why I keep going back. And again, this is not an advertisement for these tendering companies, but if you're not winning, there's something wrong somewhere, and to reach out to someone, a peer within the construction industry, bring in an expert to do tender bids for you. We see QSs and stuff like that get involved in tender bids, and like, they might be good at the figure side of things, but in terms of demonstrating and talking and having a narrative and having a presentation that you can back and say, do you know what, everything in that presentation is bang on it, and it's professional looking, and if the company doesn't go with us, well, then they're not the right client for us. And that's really what you need to say to yourself is, fine, we didn't win it. Get the feedback of why we didn't win it, because there's always a learning outcome no matter what. You might get it back and you might go, well, we're not changing anything. As far as we're concerned, it was done right. It was done in the right spirit. The pricing was bang on. And if we didn't get it, we didn't get it. The other thing to be looking at is metrics, in terms of look at what you don't get and measure what you don't get. And I think it's a really good measure for a company is, how many contracts did we not win, or tenders did we not win? And that is a better metric than the ones that we did win, because you might be pricing the wrong jobs. And if you look at all the jobs that you didn't get, you might be looking at the wrong sector. You might be looking at the wrong region. You might be looking at the wrong market for what you're trying to deliver. And there's a lot of learnings to come out of negative or no answers for tenders. And you need to deep dive into that. And again, if you're not confident, bring someone in, hire somebody, a mentor or some sort of a person that has lived the experience of all this high-end stuff in terms of tenders, and ask them to evaluate all the no's and see where you're going wrong. And they might very well turn around and go, do you know what, bit of tweaking inside your company, you probably need to add extra services in order to get over the line with these tenders, because you've limited yourself based on, niche in your product or whatever it is, or it might be that you're too niche, or it might be that you're not niche enough. All these factors, there is a lot of factors to winning tenders. And I suppose from today's message, and what I'm trying to get out to you is, stop telling yourself this bias narrative that we didn't win it because there's brown envelopes or there's a relationship there and we were never going to win it anyway. That is absolute crap, being honest with you, because, in this day and age, with governance issues and everything else, a lot of the big companies, a lot of the valued companies will not take any chances of skullduggery going on. It does happen in most organizations, in most industries, but it's very minute. It's like a low percentage. The governance side of things is really strong in companies these days. A lot of companies are backed by venture capital as well, and it's a no-no. Like, you just don't go there. So, and you don't want to work for people like that anyway, because they own you. Like, why would you want to go down that road? It's just a lot easier to know that you've been pretty much bought by this company because they believe and trust in your business, and they believe in your standards, they believe in your team, they believe in you, what they believed in the tender bid was what you said you were going to deliver, and that's the way you delivered it. And then now you've got a relationship. Now it's the second part of the tender, or the execution process, is how do you nurture that relationship forward so that you have a valued partner with for the foreseeable future, and for as long as that person and that team remains within that organization. And that's the other important part, is people move around from companies to companies all the time, and it's very important that you build a rapport and a trusted relationship with these people, because they will move to another company most likely. I don't know what the figures is in terms of people moving, but people definitely move 2 or 3 times within their career. It's especially these days, it's very rare you see long-term 20-year service people within construction. It's very dynamic. People do move for whatever reasons, and they will bring you with them. So now you've got a second company, so you can still, have the relationship with the existing company. And again, go back to people buying jobs, as in, winning them based on a figure that's just, paying wages, basically. Some of these companies do that and say, look, the long road, this is a big company, we want to get in, we want them on our portfolio, and we know that they have tons of work, so we don't really have to tender out much more work for other companies. If we win this contract with this company, we can then start getting into other parts of the company. And this is a thing that, we spoke about recently in our own business, is a lot of the companies, or some of the companies we work for, actually are like mini cities, if you like. They have loads of other branches within their company, and they might have 10 or 12 different or 15 different companies within the company. And, just some people probably don't look at it that way. They look at it and say, they just see the main brand, and they go, okay, that's just one company. No, there's 20 companies behind that company, or there could be 10 companies behind that company. So you don't need to be tendering all over the place. So again, think about this when you're saying to yourself, the chip on the shoulder hits you and you go, oh, we didn't win it because, somebody else was undercutting us. No, they bought that job because they know once they're in, they're on the preferred supplier list, they're creating relationships, and they're going to reap the rewards, hopefully, down the road, because that client will come back and go, do you know what, we've another project across the road, rather than going out and tendering that because it's lower value, we'll just give it to yourselves, but make sure that your bid is on point. When you're doing the tenders, always do it in the frame of mind of the person that's reading the tender. And this is seems straightforward and it seems like logical, but again, people don't do that. And there needs to be a flow of your narrative within the tender. So start, middle, and end. And the structure of these tenders, when they're given out to you, they've been built up over time, so that they just didn't pick this up and throw it out there. there is a flow from their side of things. So when they're reading the tender, if it comes and it's itty bitty and up and down and it doesn't have a flow of conversation within the tender, again, it's an off-putting narrative. It's something small to think about, but at the same time, it does make sense that you're telling a story from the very beginning right through to the end of the document. And go back and look at your tenders that you've submitted recently or in the last while and ask yourself, did you tell the story in such a way that it actually reads like a story in the tender? Just go back and look at it. And if you come back and say to yourself, no, actually, do you know what, it makes sense. I didn't actually tell a story. I put it into compartments, and this was this section and this was this section. Can't think like that. It's very sterile. It doesn't come off the page for the reader, and that actually does make a difference. I can tell you that from people, from ourselves. Even I've looked at of tenders coming in. Again, get somebody else to read it for you at the end of it. If you're a sole trader and stuff like that, and you're not really sure, go to somebody and say, "Look, I'm putting this tender in. Read it. Give me your honest view. Is it crap? Does it read well? Does it jump off the page for you? Is there language in it that, I've lost you?" Again, another one, people going off, highfalutin words and stuff like this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And keep it basic, keep it simple, keep the language simple and understandable. Don't be getting into jargon and stuff like that, thinking that you're smart, because people look at that and go, that's all crap. Your man's just hyping things up here. And they can see that straight away, because look, that's what they're doing. They're looking at tenders. Most of these companies are just dealing with tenders every day of the week. So why are you different? What makes your tender different? Really, I suppose, in that sense, go back and look at your tenders today, or look at them over the holiday period, and go to yourself, right, I actually completely messed up there because I didn't tell the story. It was itty bitty. There was loads of jargon in it. My pricing was all over the place. These are just things to take into consideration. Other things to take into consideration is, how do you market yourself, and is your marketing on point? Back to getting the scorecards or getting some sort of feedback from these companies. Now, I will say to you, you could be chasing companies for a while and asking them for the feedback, and some of them don't like giving it because they don't want a backlash from you about, what went wrong. But there is an obligation on them to give you feedback, and it might not be in detail, but they need to give you some form of feedback. And it's invaluable in terms of trying to put together your right tenders and stuff like that. In terms of your filing system as well, you should have some sort of a centralized management system for all of your folders, because what you will find is the same topics keep on coming up and up. And if you have a shared folder with all of these documents, you'll find that the tenders become easier and easier, because you can just download them or shift the files over onto the next tender, because everybody's asking the same thing. Same thing with questions. As you answer questions, what I've seen people do is they send in the tender and they don't extract those questions and answers into a document and then share it into a share folder, because if somebody's evaluating how you do your tenders, they're going to look at those questions and go, they asked that question, you didn't answer that question correctly. And I tell you the reason why, because you've went down a different road here in terms of your answer. Yes, your answer was probably on point, but you didn't listen, or you didn't see what they were asking you in that tender. There is, as people say, there's an art in doing tenders, and find somebody who does it really well. Nurture them, get them into the business if you have to, if you're doing loads of tenders, obviously. And if not, find a model. Once you find these models, I will guarantee you that your life will become much more better in terms of you're fully confident when you put in a tender that this is me, this is how we do it. And if you don't get it, you don't get it. Don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. But if you haven't got a systematic management model for doing tenders, well then, number one, you're 1-0 down in the game straight away. The good companies that are winning these tenders have a systematic way of doing the tenders. They have the same answers pretty much, formatted and logged or saved so that they just transport all of those answers, and they might have to vary it a little bit or edit it a little bit. The other thing I'd like you to consider is profiles of key people within the business. The executive team, we've seen organization charts and stuff like that, or in some cases they might just say, I'm the CEO, Joe Bloggs is the operations manager, and stuff like that. It's like just bland and crap. Go and spend a bit of time to put together a profile. Like, your picture means 1,000 words, as they say, because you're promoting this person that's, you're going to introduce this person to that company, and they want to get a good feel. Look, 20 years experience. Go and find somebody that can do a profile for you. If you're not confident yourself, get the profile pictures done. Go and get professional photos done. Go and get a commercial resume. And there's a difference between a CV and a commercial resume. Believe me, two totally different documents. And when you go and you talk to people who do commercial CVs, they will show you what the difference is between an ordinary CV and a commercial CV. Worth their weight in gold, 100%. And obviously, if the person allows it, you can put that on your website as well. So again, you're building up this profile and this sort of library of content that you can dish out then for your tenders. Safety obviously is number one. In a lot of cases, as regards obviously demonstrating that you're a safe company. They will look for issues like your last 5 years in business and whether you had any serious incidents or accidents. If you try and not answer that correctly and fudge the numbers, it's very easy to find out if you had a reportable accident. And as well as that, you don't want to go down the road of saying or fudging figures on that. Be truthful, but demonstrate why and what happened and how you dealt with those particular incidents or accidents. And because they will be much more amenable to you that you've, number one, been upfront and told them you had these issues. And number two, if you were to have an issue on their project, they now know that you can deal with these issues, and they now know that you have a professional, systematic view of or systematic process of dealing with these incidents, so that they can trust that, yeah, you've had a problem, but we know we can trust you that you'll manage that problem. It's really important that you do that. Again, if you have health and safety in-house, perfect. Do the profile, do the commercial CV. If you don't, you say you don't, and do a profile on the independent consultant or company that you're using. Same with quality, same with environmental. Again, there's no downside. They're not going to shoot you down for having an outsourced health and safety or an outsourced environmental or quality person. There's no issues with that at all, so long as you're open and transparent about it. Again, in terms of contractor management, I said it earlier on, be absolutely on point with how you say you do have a subcontractor policy and you do have a subcontractor model, and here's how you manage it. And, when you go back to the tender process, do ask these people, I didn't get the tender. Can you tell me, was it the fact that we contract out some of our work? Was that a major factor? It could be, genuinely could be, because some companies get scared and they go, he's just winning the job and he's just going to tender it out, and it's just going to dilute stuff, and we're not going to get the real company here. And really what they're saying is that they're not going to trust that you have the culture to deliver the project, because you have this dilution model. So, if you do have a subcontractor model, you're going to have to step up and you're going to have to be very on point with how you manage the conversation and the narrative in the tender of how you manage subcontractors and the supply chain. Again, modern day slavery kicks in there. That's what they're worried about. So think about that. They're thinking about, are you paying the people the right money? Where are you finding these people? How do we know that they're the right people? Where did they come from? How do they know they have right to work? All this kind of stuff. You mightn't even think of that. You might be sitting here going, God, I wouldn't even think of that. That's exactly what they're thinking of. Are you going to bring in a situation where there is going to be a protest at our gate because we're using unpaid or low paid workers, etc., etc.? And we've seen cases, we've been involved with a case a couple of years ago where we were asked to come in and give support after the fact, where a subcontractor had done that. And to be fair to them, they had subbed it out to somebody else who subbed it out to somebody else. And lo and behold, there was a modern day slavery breach, and it was not good. It's carnage, and it does ruin your reputation. Let me be straight up with you. You will find it hard to get work in the town or in the city once you've got a modern day slavery breach on your books. Not good. It could be a door shutter for yourself. So again, think about that when you're demonstrating that you have a supply chain or you use subcontractor as a model. Modern day slavery is big, safety is big, and you need to demonstrate that. So even if it's a case of getting somebody to come in and do an evaluation of your business in terms of modern day slavery, and somebody to write a report that says that your practices and your business is entirely in line with best practice standards in terms of employing people, and that's, they're an accredited company and they stand over your company as a leading company for how you manage and reward and look after your staff. Again, independent letters like that are worth their weight in gold that you can put into your tenders. Client testimonials, massive, just massive. Everybody knows everybody within the industry. You can be sure that somebody's name comes across and the testimonial, and they go, oh, Gavin's actually given him a good testimonial, or her a good testimonial. I trust Gavin. Gavin must be, and they will pick up the phone and go, hey, have you worked with this company before? What do you reckon? Do you think they're good? Do you think we'll give them a shot? Where's the weak points, etc. So yeah, going back to the library, start building a library of your best projects as well. Take photos throughout the construction process of all your different projects. Collect client testimonials, as we said, while the project is still fresh. Document any challenges you overcame and how you handled them. They love that type of stuff. Record the outcomes you delivered. Just talk about innovative, creative things that you did that made a difference on different contracts. Show that you have a lessons learned at every project. At the end of every project, that you sit down with the team, you do a workshop with them offside, and you go, okay, what worked, what didn't work. Show them that you will do this. Show them how you communicate with your team and how you're going to communicate with the client. Relevant case studies are important. They prove that your capability, and that you've worked with similar clients in the past and you've delivered similar projects in the past. That's very important that you're able to demonstrate that. The key is to make the standard of your business stand out. How you are putting your best foot forward, that you have this high standard and high value system. That needs to jump off the page in terms of the tender. Build up your track record and your library so it's ready when you need it. Actively de-risk the project for your client. So here's something that contractors often underestimate. Clients are more worried about things going wrong than they are excited about saving money. Think about that. They're more worried about things going wrong than they are excited about saving money. And you might not think that. You might think it's all about the pound book. No. People are worried for their jobs, because if they appoint to you, their reputation is on the line. You have to think about it that way. Their reputation is on the line. Their companies trust them that they're going to find the best person for that job, to deliver that job, and that is you. So if you don't have a relationship with these companies, which in most cases you might not, how do you actually demonstrate that in the tender, that they can trust you and that their jobs are not on the line? Think about it from their perspective. If your job goes badly, delays, quality issues, cost overruns, safety incidents, somebody's reputation is on the line. It might even cost someone their job. The person evaluating your tender might be that someone. So when you can demonstrate that you've thought carefully about potential risks and have solid plans to manage them, you become the safe choice. I would even say to you to create like a strategy document and have it in such a way that they might be thinking that how they're going to deliver the job in a certain way, but your strategy might actually say, have you thought about this way of delivering the job? It might not be the right way, but you could give them, two different strategies. You could say, we understood your scope, we understood the terms of your contract or of your bid, and we've answered all your questions. However, we would like you to consider a different type of strategy. Have you thought about doing the project in this way? And it could be it could be anything from a different planning model. It could be a different scheduled model. It could be a different way of rolling out the project from a production point of view, from a labor point of view, from a safety point of view. It could be any different aspect of the actual execution of the job. But it shows that you're being innovative and you're creative. It doesn't show that you're kind of, okay, he's just going to tick the boxes here and sort of go with the flow. And they can see through that as well, and they will respect you for putting something like that together. Which leads me also on to innovative, creative. So if there's something in the tender, if you go through the tender and something doesn't, and they don't ask the question, what innovative or creative models, if you like, are you going to bring to the table? If they don't ask a question or a similar question to that, like, you bring that to the table and say, add in, by the way, as part of this contract, if we win this contract, the following innovations are going to be implemented in this contract. We are going to ensure that we do a toolbox talk every morning before the job starts. Classic example. We will have stand downs every Friday at lunchtime, and we will concentrate on housekeeping as a priority for 1 hour every Friday. We are going to have leadership walks once a week with our foreman and our executive team, and a member from our head office is going to visit site as part of that leadership walk. All these little innovative, creative, that they don't cost you your company that much. Brilliant in terms of optics when the client looks at that and goes, right, this guy's on the point. They're going to put the extra mile in here. We didn't even ask them to do that in the tender, and they're going to do that at their own cost. It doesn't cost you much, but you're again building that honor and trust model with the potential client. If your tender submission includes, include risk analysis. So show that you've identified potential challenges like weather impacts, supply chain issues, site access constraints, or coordination with other trades. More importantly, show your strategies for managing each of these risks. This doesn't mean creating a document full of disclaimers about everything that could go wrong. It means demonstrating your experience and your planning capability. It shows you're a professional who thinks ahead and has systems in place to handle challenges. Innovate on your own methodology. This is where you can really differentiate yourself. Don't just tell clients what you'll build. Show them how you'll build it better. Is there a more efficient construction sequence you can use? Can you leverage technology like building information modeling to improve coordination? Do you have specialist equipment or techniques to improve safety or speed? Can you offer a faster program without compromising quality? Classic example, we understand you want us to build a wall. We can build that off-site in our off-site location to a point of where we can deliver it on the project so that the hours on the site are reduced because we've done some off-site modeling. They absolutely love that. So, there's less activity going on site. You've thought about a whole off-site, on-site modeling strategy. They absolutely love that type of stuff. Obviously reducing the risk for them. The point here isn't to be innovative for the sake of it. It's about showing that you've applied real thought to how you'll deliver this specific project. You're not just templating your approach from the last job. You're customizing your methodology to get the best outcome for this particular client, making it specific for that client. This is especially important for construction SMEs because it's an area where you can often be more agile and creative than larger competitors who might be locked into a standard process. Now, let me address something with you that you might be thinking, this all sounds good, but what if the client only cares about price? Here's the reality. Some clients do only care about price, and that's okay. You need to be selective about which tenders you pursue. Not every project is right for your business. Some clients genuinely just want the cheapest option and aren't concerned about anything else. Those projects are often the ones that cause the most problems. And you know that, I know that, and there's always a dispute or payment issues or unrealistic expectations with those particular projects. Your goal isn't to win every tender. Your goal is to win the right tenders. And we spoke about that at the start of the show. The ones where you can deliver excellent work, build strong client relationships, keep on going back about the relationships, but it's so important, and make a sustainable margin for yourself. Focus your energy there. Let's move on to strategy 5. Invest in presentation quality. Spoke about it earlier on. Your tender submission is often your real first impression with a client. Make it count. I've reviewed hundreds of tenders, as I said, over the years, and you'll be surprised how many look rushed or generic. They will scream off the page when they see a generic or rushed or not planned tender. When we get a tender in, we do when we're asked to tender for a project, we will do a debrief with the team and go, okay, this tender's come in. Do we want it? What's the advantages of getting it, and what's the disadvantages of getting it? If we did win it, do we have capacity? Do we have the right people? Do we have the right focus? Is there money in this? And we have parked tenders aside and said, no, that's not for us. And in some cases, the potential client has come back to us and go, we didn't receive a tender. Could you tell us why? And we love that. Fair play to them, number one, for coming back and saying that, because it shows that, they understand your company and the value of your company. And you can just be honest with them and say, look, we'd love to get the job, but if we won that contract, we probably wouldn't be able to deliver at the quality that we expect within our business for you, because we probably don't have the capacity, or we're thinking that maybe if we did put a price in, that we would probably be too high for your expectations. And some companies have said, perfect, that's the best answer we've ever had. And we will be back to you in the future. And we understand that we have a budget here and we can't really go above that, and we're kind of locked in, and now you've created an open, honest relationship with a potential client down in the future. Or in some cases, they've come back and said, no, put your tender in. We really have a good feeling that your company will be one of the companies we would like to see succeeding. You may not succeed, but you may succeed. But what I'm trying to say to you is, have that confidence about your own ability, have that confidence about your own company and your brand. It really does scream. But if you're going to put in a tender last minute, guaranteed 100%, the client will see that for what it is. And as I said, they're all reviewing tenders on a daily basis. They will know, they'll be able to sniff out the fact that this is a rush tender, or this person doesn't have the resources and doesn't really care because they haven't put the time and effort into this tender, and they'll see it. Now, and there's a flip side of that as well. We've seen clients sending out tenders where the tender's all over the place. It's kind of, oh my God, like they have asked you to submit it in this way, but if you submit it in that way, it actually doesn't make sense, because we can't submit it in that way because it doesn't go together, and because it's whatever. Even software that we've been asked to upload stuff to, and when you go into the software, it's not clear as regards how the tender gets uploaded, etc., etc. So I suppose what I'm trying to say, like big companies still can fail in this area themselves, and that's something that they need to address themselves. Winning contractors treat their tender submission like an important piece of business communication. 100%. It's clean, it's professional, and the layout is very easy to understand. Use high quality visuals, yes. Easy for the evaluator to find the information they need. Here's a practical tip. Include information about your team, not just about your company, but the actual people who will be working on this project. We spoke about that earlier on in terms of the commercial profiles. There is professional companies that will put together a commercial profile for each one of their individuals that are going to be executing the project. Don't put in people that are not going to be part of the project. It's a no-no. And it can be used against you as well when the job starts. You said that Mary was going to be on this project that's going to be delivering safety or quality. Where are they? Well, no, they jump around different projects. No, it says in your tender bid that you're going to have Mary as the full-time health and safety manager. Well, we didn't think you didn't think you actually meant that. No, we did. So we want her here on Monday morning and Monday to Friday. Now you have a problem because you haven't priced. So be careful what you put into the tenders. Again, we've seen that as well. And we've been on the client side of things where we've insisted that the people that was in the tender were actually executing on the project. And it has cost companies money, and it also cost them their reputation because they've tried to weasel their way into getting the tender by saying that all these resources are going to be part of the tender when in fact they had no intentions of using some of these people. Build relationships before the tender. The best tenders are often won before they've even been released. I'm not talking about anything inappropriate. I'm talking about being visible and respected in your market. Attend industry events. Join your local construction associations. Contribute to industry discussions. Share your expertise. Talk at events. Build a reputation as someone who knows what they're talking about. When tender time comes, you want to be a known quantity. So build your authority within the industry is basically what we're saying here. Yeah. If a client has heard you speak at an industry event or read an article you wrote or met you at a networking event, function or event, you're not just another name in their inbox. You're someone they've already identified with and they've already in their own way had a relationship in terms of, I know that person. They're very good. I heard them talking at such and such an event. Especially if you're in the SME market, get yourself out there. Again, if you're not confident, there is presentation skills courses you can do. Don't be playing the chip on the shoulder stuff again. Oh, that's not me. I'm not. Get somebody else in the organization that's good at it if you really don't want to do it. And again, PR firms, they have a place. Years ago it was kind of PR firm. That's for the larger companies. You can get a really good PR firm to write up your presentation, help you articulate a particular topic that's an industry topic, and help you get into some of these talking events that allows you to, get your name out there and build up your following and your authority as a leading expert within construction. Follow up strategically. After submitting your tender, most contractors just wait for the phone to ring. Not going to happen, lads. But there are opportunities to strengthen your position even after submission. Send a brief follow-up email confirming your submission and making yourself available for any questions. Very important, guys. Again, a lot of people don't do it. Tender might have got lost. Tender might have went into spam. Tender mightn't have been delivered to the right address. Sending an email pretty much the same day as you sent out the tender to confirm that your tender submission has been sent confirms to them that you've sent it. And if they didn't get it, or when they open up all the tenders and they come back to you and go, sorry, we didn't get your tender, you have this email to say, I've sent the tender and you didn't come back to me to confirm it, which allows them to go back in and allow your tender to be submitted, as opposed to, well, didn't receive it, so sorry, you lose out on this particular occasion. That email can be dug up and used to back up your argument for why you need that tender to be resubmitted and opened. If the tender process allows for clarification or presentations, use these opportunities to reinforce your value proposition and demonstrate your communication skills. After the decision is made, whether you win or lose, follow up appropriately. If you win, deliver on your promise you made in your tender. That's your best marketing for the future. 100%, guys. If you lose, resist any urge to complain or argue. We spoke about that. Instead, politely ask for feedback. We spoke about that. What did the winning bidder offer that you didn't? What could you have done better? This information is invaluable for improving your future submissions. And here's something many contractors miss. Sometimes you're the second choice. If you handle the loss professionally and maintain the relationship, you might get a call when the client has their next project. Or what we've seen is they went ahead, brought in this other contractor, and then realized halfway through it or in the first couple of months, I had a mistake here, not going well. They might bring you in to do the second part of the project or, another part of the project. Let me bring all of this together with the core principle. Your goal is to shift the conversation from cost to trust and value. When you compete purely on price, you're treating construction as a commodity. But construction isn't a commodity. It's a complex professional service that requires expertise, judgment, planning, and problem solving. When you demonstrate that expertise effectively, when you show deep understanding of the client's needs, prove your capability with past performance, de-risk the project with thorough planning, propose smart methodology, present professionally, build relationships, and follow up strategically, clients will recognize the value and they'll be willing to pay appropriately for it. This doesn't mean you can ignore your pricing. You still need to be competitive. But competitive doesn't mean cheapest. It means offering genuine value that justifies your price. Guys, if you are listening to this for the first time, what we do on the podcast is we try and give support and advice to small to medium business construction owners to help them navigate the challenges within their business. If you have topics that you would like us to address, pop them in in the comments and let us know. We very much value people's feedback. If you think we can improve the show, also happy to receive any feedback. Negative can be a positive. Please share, subscribe, like, and hit the notifications. It's important that we build out the community. We are attracting some brilliant guests across the world, over 1 million viewers in 28 countries with the podcast. Delighted with the way things have gone with the Gaffer podcast. There obviously is a market for helping people like yourself where you don't have time. Time is poor, money is tight, and don't have time to go back to school or college, or don't have time to attend events because you're stuck in the business. And we're here to help as best we can. We don't ask for much other than please subscribe, like, and hit the notifications. I'm Gavin Coyle. This is I'm The Gaffer podcast, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much for listening or watching. See you on the next show, guys. All the best.